What if I told you that a tiny old penny sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket right now could secretly be worth an unbelievable fortune? Sounds impossible, right? But this isn't some made-up internet fantasy. This is real. These are just a few ordinary-looking American pennies, old, faded, and easy to ignore. Most people would never give them a second look. Some might even toss them into a jar or spend them without thinking twice. But hidden inside these coins is a story that only serious collectors truly understand. And the wildest part? At first, I had absolutely no idea what I was holding. Imagine carrying around something potentially life-changing and treating it like spare change. So the big question is this: are these pennies truly worth massive money, or is the world of rare coins just full of hype? Today, we're uncovering the truth. I'm going to reveal the history behind these coins, the hidden details collectors search for, and most importantly, why people are willing to pay shocking amounts of money for something so small. But before we get there, there's one tiny detail you absolutely need to notice first, because this is where the story turns unbelievable. Stay until the end, because what happens next surprises almost everyone. Coin number 1. It all began with a mistake. A simple moment so ordinary that nobody around even noticed it happening. A customer walked into a small store, paid in cash, grabbed the change, and casually dropped a few pennies onto the counter. The sound was nothing unusual. Just metal clinking against metal. But hidden among those coins was something nobody recognized in that moment. Not the cashier, not the people nearby, not even the man who spent it. One of those pennies wasn't ordinary at all. It was a rare 1957 wheat penny with no mint mark, quietly blending in with common pocket change while carrying a value most people would never believe. To an untrained eye, it looks completely normal. Slightly worn. Old copper color. Nothing flashy. But collectors know that appearances can be deceiving. Now here's where things get serious. The year 1957 was during a time when the United States was producing enormous numbers of pennies for circulation. Millions upon millions rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint. That's why this coin carries no mint mark. But buried within those millions were a tiny number of coins struck with exceptional detail, clean surfaces, and features collectors obsess over today. And this changes everything. The missing mint mark doesn't automatically make the coin worthless. Under the right conditions, it can make it incredibly desirable. On the front of the coin, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner. Above his head are the famous words, "In God we trust." To the left sits Liberty, and on the right, the date 1957. Collectors pay attention to every tiny detail here. The sharpness of the lettering, the clarity of Lincoln's hair, the smoothness of the surfaces. Even small imperfections can affect the value dramatically. And here's something most people don't realize: cleaning the coin can instantly destroy its value. Many beginners think shiny means valuable, but serious collectors want originality, not polish. Flip the coin over and you'll see the famous wheat ears surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. That's exactly why these are called wheat pennies. Between the wheat stalks is the phrase, E pluribus unum, another detail collectors inspect closely. Tiny differences in strike quality, spacing, and texture can separate an average coin from one worth a fortune. Most people never notice any of this. Physically, the coin seems ordinary. It's made mostly of copper, weighs about 3.11 grams, and has a smooth edge with no ridges. Nothing about it looks expensive. And honestly, that's the reason so many valuable coins continue slipping through people's hands unnoticed. But then comes the moment collectors dream about. Picture a quiet auction room filled with experienced buyers staring intensely at a single penny under bright lights. The auctioneer starts the bidding. Slowly at first. Then faster. One collector raises a hand. Another instantly counters. The room grows tense because everyone there understands the same thing. High-quality examples of these coins are becoming harder to find every year. Most were damaged, worn down, or lost decades ago. But this one survived. The bidding keeps climbing higher and higher until suddenly the price reaches levels nobody outside the coin world would expect. We're no longer talking about a few dollars. Not even hundreds. The final hammer falls at an astonishing price that shocks the entire room. A single penny sold for over $142,000. Think about that for a second. How many people have handled coins like this without realizing what they had? How many rare pennies were spent on coffee, dropped into tipped jars, or forgotten in drawers forever? This is exactly why collectors constantly search through old jars, bank rolls, and loose change. Because treasures like these hide in plain sight. So if you ever come across a 1957 wheat penny with no mint mark, stop for a moment before ignoring it. Examine the condition carefully. Look at the lettering. Check the surfaces. Natural aging, known as toning, can actually increase value if untouched and original. But once damaged or cleaned, that hidden fortune can disappear instantly. And there's one final thing many people overlook: professional grading. A certified coin carries trust, and in the collector market, trust means everything. Sometimes the difference between an ordinary-looking penny and a life-changing payday comes down to authentication and condition. As more collectors enter the market and fewer high-quality coins survive, prices continue rising year after year. So next time you spot an old penny, especially a wheat penny from 1957, don't dismiss it too quickly. Because what seems ordinary to everyone else could secretly be worth a fortune. Coin number 2 didn't come from a famous auction or a millionaire collector's safe. It came from something much more ordinary. An old glass jar covered in dust, sitting quietly on a kitchen shelf for years. The kind of jar people toss loose change into without a second thought. One day, someone finally decided to open it. Coins poured across the table. Pennies, nickels, dimes, all mixed together in a pile of noise and metal. And hidden between them was a dark and worn 1946 wheat penny with no mint mark. It looked dirty, faded, and completely unimportant. In fact, it almost got spent the next morning like any normal coin. But this is where the story changes. Because sometimes the coins that look the worst are the ones hiding the biggest secrets. The year 1946 was a powerful moment in American history. World War II had just ended, and the United States was rebuilding fast. The Philadelphia Mint, known for producing coins without mint marks, was striking millions of pennies to keep everyday business moving again. Most people think rarity only comes from low production numbers. But experienced collectors know something different. True rarity often comes from survival. Over the decades, most 1946 wheat pennies were damaged, cleaned, lost, or destroyed through circulation. That means a surviving example with original surfaces, even if it looks dirty, can attract massive attention in the collector market. Now look closely at the coin itself. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's portrait still remains visible beneath years of aging and oxidation. Across the top, "In God We Trust," can still be read, softened slightly by wear. "Liberty" appears on the left side, while the date 1946 stands clearly on the right. And beneath the date, there is no mint mark, confirming it was struck in Philadelphia. Most people would only notice the dirt. Collectors notice the originality. And here's the important part many people never understand. Cleaning a coin like this can instantly destroy a huge percentage of its value. That dark toning and natural aging are part of the coin's history. Once removed, the originality is gone forever. Turn the coin over and you'll see the classic wheat ears surrounding 1 cent and United States of America. Between the wheat stalk sits E pluribus unum, slightly faded after decades of circulation. This famous wheat penny design was used from 1909 to 1958 and remains one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. But serious collectors don't stop at the design. They study everything. Strike quality, letter spacing, surface texture. Tiny details most people would never even notice. Because in rare cases, small differences can separate an ordinary penny from a life-changing discovery. Physically, the coin feels completely normal. It's made from 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. It weighs about 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters wide, and has a smooth edge with no ridges. To the average person, it feels exactly like every old penny they've ever seen. And that's why coins like this continue slipping through people's hands unnoticed every single day. Now picture an auction room filled with silence and tension. A single 1946 wheat penny sits under bright lights inside a glass display. The description reads, 1946 wheat penny, no mint mark, original surfaces. Some people in the room look confused. Why would collectors care about a dirty old penny? But experienced buyers already understand what they're looking at. The bidding begins. One paddle rises. Then another. Then another. Suddenly the price starts climbing faster. What looked worthless moments earlier is now becoming the center of attention. Because collectors are not paying for appearance alone. They are paying for rarity, originality, and survival. The bids continue rising into serious territory. 5 figures. Then even higher. At this point, this is no longer spare change. This is real money. And finally, after one last bid, the hammer drops. The final sale reaches an unbelievable $182,000. For one old penny that many people would have cleaned, ignored, or accidentally spent without thinking twice. Now think carefully about that. How many 1946 pennies have passed through your hands over the years? How many are still hiding inside jars, drawers, boxes, or forgotten collections right now? This is exactly why collector demand keeps growing stronger. Millions may have been produced, but very few survived with their collectible integrity still intact. And as supply disappears, values continue rising. So if you ever discover a 1946 wheat penny without a mint mark, especially one that looks dark, dirty, or heavily aged, stop immediately. Do not clean it. That single mistake can erase an enormous amount of value. Instead, protect the coin, have it professionally examined, and learn exactly what you might be holding before making any decisions. Because sometimes dirt is not damage. Sometimes it's a disguise. And what feels like ordinary pocket change could actually be a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. And remember this carefully. Do not spend this coin. Coin number 3. It didn't come from a collector's showcase. It wasn't locked away in some expensive display case. It came from an old paper roll of pennies opened casually at a dining table, the kind people buy from banks without expecting anything special. One by one, the coins dropped out. Most looked worn, dull, completely ordinary. But then, one penny stood out immediately. Not because it was shiny, but because something about it looked untouched by time. A 1952 wheat penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it seemed harmless. Easy to ignore. Easy to spend. But moments like this are exactly how rare coins vanish forever. Stay focused, because what happened next shocked everyone involved. The year 1952 came during a major era of American coin production. The Philadelphia Mint was producing millions of pennies for circulation across the country, and coins from this mint usually carried no mint mark at all. That's why most people never think twice when they see one. But hidden inside those millions were only a few coins struck with exceptional detail and preserved far better than the rest. And that's where value begins to change. A wheat penny in very fine condition tells a completely different story. It means the coin survived decades of circulation while keeping much of its original appearance intact. Most coins from this era became damaged, faded, or nearly unreadable over time. But a surviving example with strong details becomes something collectors chase aggressively. Look closely at the front of the coin. Abraham Lincoln's portrait still shows sharp detail. His hair remains visible, the cheek and jawline are well defined, and the lettering across the top, "In God We Trust," stands bold and readable. Liberty remains strong on the left side, while the date 1952 appears clean and clear on the right. And directly beneath the date, nothing. No mint mark at all. That missing mark confirms it came from Philadelphia. For serious collectors, details like this matter more than most people realize. They aren't just looking at old money. They are looking at preservation, originality, and a surviving piece of American history. Flip the coin over and the famous wheat reverse appears. 2 wheat stalks surround the words 1 cent and United States of America. Even after years in circulation, the lettering still holds strength. E pluribus unum remains visible above the center, adding depth to the design collectors know instantly. This iconic wheat penny style remained in use for decades, and today it represents an era of coinage that disappeared long ago. But here's the detail many people miss completely. Collectors pay attention to strike quality, surface condition, and how evenly the coin was produced. Even small differences can separate an average penny from one worth serious money. A balanced strike, original color, and strong details can completely transform value. Physically, the coin is made from 95% copper with a small mix of tin and zinc, giving it that rich brown tone collectors love. It weighs around 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters across, and has a smooth edge with no ridges. Nothing about it feels rare in your hand. And that's why coins like this continue getting spent every single day. They look ordinary. But sometimes, ordinary hides incredible value. Now picture a quiet auction room filled with experienced collectors. Under soft lighting sits the 1952 wheat penny, no mint mark, preserved in remarkable condition. The bidding starts calmly. One offer appears. Then another. Suddenly the room changes. Collectors begin recognizing exactly what they are seeing. The numbers rise quickly. What started as a simple penny is now moving into serious territory. The bids climb higher and higher as competition intensifies. At this point, nobody in the room is thinking about 1 cent anymore. They are thinking about rarity, condition, and opportunity. Then comes the final moment. Silence fills the room. One last bid is placed. The hammer drops. The final price reaches an astonishing $166,000. For a single penny that could have easily disappeared into everyday change. Think about how unbelievable that is. A coin discovered inside a simple bankroll becoming worth more than many homes and luxury vehicles. This is exactly why collectors search endlessly through old pennies, because hidden treasures still exist where nobody expects them. So if you ever find a 1952 wheat penny without a mint mark, especially one with strong visible detail, stop immediately. Do not clean it. Cleaning destroys original surfaces, and that alone can wipe away massive value. Even dark toning or uneven coloring can actually increase collector interest if the surfaces remain untouched. Have the coin professionally examined. Consider grading it before selling. And never rush into spending it without understanding what you might truly have. Because sometimes the smallest coin in your pocket can become the biggest discovery of your life. And remember this carefully. Do not spend this penny. Final coin. There's a story collectors still whisper about behind closed doors. Not because it sounds impossible, but because situations like this happen far more often than people realize. Picture a small convenience store late at night. Someone empties loose change onto the counter without paying attention. A single penny rolls forward, dull, dark, almost forgotten. The cashier glances once, tosses it into the register, and just like that, it disappears back into circulation. But that coin was no ordinary penny. It was a 1944 wheat penny with no mint mark, covered in a thin dark layer from decades of natural aging, worn enough to blend in with everyday change. And in one careless second, a hidden treasure vanished into the world again. Most people never notice moments like this. Stay with me, because what collectors understand about this coin changes everything. The year 1944 carries deep historical importance. During World War II, the United States Mint temporarily switched pennies to steel in 1943 to save copper for military supplies. But by 1944, copper returned to production, and much of it came from recycled wartime shell casings. Think about that. This isn't just pocket change. It's a surviving piece of wartime history, literally shaped from materials connected to the war itself. The Philadelphia Mint, recognized by the absence of a mint mark beneath the date, struck millions of these pennies. But here's the detail most people overlook. Very few survive decades of circulation with untouched original surfaces, especially coins carrying natural dark toning that collectors now prize as proof of authenticity rather than damage. Now examine the coin carefully. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's portrait still shows solid detail despite light wear. The outline of his hair remains visible. His jawline still carries definition. "In God We Trust" arches clearly across the top, while Liberty stands on the left, and the date 1944 appears boldly on the right. And beneath that date? Nothing. No mint mark. That tiny missing detail connects the coin directly to Philadelphia, and for serious collectors, that matters more than most people understand. But the real attention goes to the surface itself. That dark layer many people mistake for dirt or corrosion is often exactly what collectors hope to see. It signals originality. A coin untouched by harsh cleaning, polishing, or chemical damage. And this is where fortunes are either protected or destroyed. Flip the coin over, and the reverse displays the iconic wheat ears surrounding 1 cent and United States of America. Even with circulation wear, the design remains strong. E pluribus unum still appears between the wheat stalks, slightly faded but clearly present. This design, retired in 1958, represents an era of American coinage that no longer exists. But here's what separates experts from everyone else. Collectors don't only study what's obvious. They inspect strike sharpness, lettering alignment, metal texture beneath the toning, and even how the dark layer formed over time. Every tiny detail can reveal whether the coin remained original or was altered years later. Most people miss this completely. Yet this is the exact reason values can explode. Physically, the coin feels ordinary. It contains 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc, weighs around 3.1 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters across, and has a thickness near 1.52 millimeters. The edge is smooth and plain. Nothing about it screams valuable. And that's why coins like this continue slipping through everyday transactions unnoticed. Now imagine a different scene. A quiet auction room filled with serious collectors. The atmosphere feels tense, controlled, focused. Under bright lights sits a 1944 wheat penny with no mint mark, natural dark toning, and original surfaces preserved through decades. The auctioneer opens the bidding. Immediately, hands rise. One bid becomes another. Then another. No hesitation. Everyone in the room understands what's sitting on that stage. Coins with historical importance, untouched surfaces, and surviving detail are becoming harder to locate every single year. The numbers climb rapidly. 5 figures pass without resistance. Then higher. At this point, the value is no longer just about a coin. It becomes a battle between collectors competing for something increasingly rare. This tiny penny has sold for more than luxury vehicles. The tension grows heavier. One bidder pauses. Another jumps in instantly. Silence fills the room. Then the final call. The hammer drops. $182,000 for a single penny that could have disappeared forever inside an ordinary cash register. Let that sink in. A coin forged from wartime history, passed through countless hands, nearly forgotten as spare change, transformed into one of the most valuable hidden treasures still capable of appearing in circulation today. And this is exactly why collector demand keeps rising. Millions were made, but untouched examples continue disappearing. Supply keeps shrinking while awareness grows larger every year. And that widening gap is where unbelievable prices are created. So if you ever come across a 1944 wheat penny with no mint mark, especially one carrying natural dark toning, stop immediately. Do not clean it. That single mistake can destroy enormous value in seconds. Collectors want originality, even when it looks imperfect. Have the coin examined professionally. Consider grading before selling. And never rush into accepting the first offer without understanding what may actually be sitting in your hands. Because what looks like an old dirty penny could secretly be a historic artifact worth more than you ever imagined. And what feels like ordinary pocket change could become the discovery that changes everything. So now I want to ask you something. How many valuable coins have already passed through your hands without you noticing? Go check again. Look through your jars, drawers, wallets, and old boxes. Because the next hidden fortune might already be waiting for you. And if you enjoy discovering rare coin secrets like this, the kind most people never hear about, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for the next story. You never know which coin could surprise you next. God bless you all, and thank you for the support.